formal review by the trustees. Each and every time it has been used by the board. So every time we've initiated an accommodation review, and in our predecessor board, we review this policy, and it has never gone, in my recollection, to the policy committee because of the, it is, as you can see, it's 8 pages long, and it has to comply with ministry policy on accommodation review. And we deal with it in this fashion to review and sort of improve the policy each time, and to make sure that we are not missing anything. And so that has been my recollection. Some of the longer serving trustees and myself may wish to offer some more information. And we have had those other policies that do not affect the stakeholder groups, that are strictly trustee decisions, regardless of where we sit in the board. And that's been the history on this policy, to my recollection.
Thank you, Trustee Clover. Trustee Lemon first.
Thank you, Chair Maves. In support to Trustee Atamanak's efforts, I would like to think that the Policy Committee, as he's indicated, represents all the stakeholders. And there's no question when an accommodation review takes place that many of the stakeholders are affected. We've seen that by the Niagara Lake accommodation review. It's not offering all the stakeholders the opportunity to be a part of this process, I think would be quite unfortunate, being that it would indirectly or directly actually affect them at some point. So I completely support the direction that Trustee Atamanak is going with this. Thank you, Chair James.
Trustee Atamanak and Trustee Clark.
Since it is policy and there are extensive changes being made, there was something skipped. I was skipped. I assumed, and I thought correctly, that since it was policy, the Policy Advisory Committee would have its input. And with this extensive changes over here, I think it's only fair and reasonable that that policy is allowed to consider what those changes are. It's a public board.
Trustee Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since the inception of the Policy Committee, and I believe the Lincoln County Board was the first board in Ontario to have a Policy Committee, it was designed to have stakeholders reflect on policies that would directly affect them, and that they could give us feedback, meant mostly for policies that would affect classroom, for instance, or work by QB in the schools, and how they might help us develop a policy that would make that work. There has always been the exception that the trustees, policies that affected the trustees, such as the policies we have for professional development, the policies we have for running our board, do not go through the Policy Committee, but come directly to the board, either through one of the board committees or through chair, vice chair, people that bring these things forward. It seems to me that it would be inappropriate to have OSSTF or QP tell us how to run our board meetings and how to run our professional development, just as it would be inappropriate for us to go to OSSTF or QP and tell them how to run their organizations. I think it's worked very well, and our board still is one of the few in the province that do have a Policy Advisory Committee. Although it was deemed best practice by the ministry, I don't believe that all boards have accepted that and have a Policy Advisory Committee, but it served us well. And it gives us very interesting feedback on matters that reflect directly on the schools and on the system, but matters that reflect directly to the board and our mandate. It probably is inappropriate to burden our stakeholder groups with what is essentially our responsibility.
Thank you, Trustee Clark. Trustee Love.
I'd like to point out that if you carefully read this document, you'll find it's a clarification. There's nothing really other than the change of having a trustee on the committee from the local area and another trustee. Okay, you can point to a lot, okay? But the point is, it's a clarification of all these points. So you're making a mountain out of a molehill. You may want to take the policy, but Trustee Clark and other people, other trustees have pointed out what it's all about. And so you have to accept it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Trustee Love. Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, then I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you.